666 Series Revelation Salvation. How does Yeshua save humanity? Did the mighty creator of the universe sacrifice his very own son? Did the creator really take a dagger and gut open his only begotten son so that his blood may wash away the sins of the world? Again, Christianity is satanic and has no idea on this matter of salvation. Christianity doesn't even know why the Torah was given in the first place, let alone what salvation is really about. First and foremost, before we can understand how salvation really works, we need to first understand if man has an eternal soul, as claimed by not only Christians, but by Buddhists, Hindus, Muslims, Greek pagan religions, Roman pagan religions, ancient Babylon, ancient Canaanites, ancient Egyptians, shamans in the Far East, basically all of Nimrod's world religion that all believe in the eternal soul. Christians believe in the eternal soul, so does all these pagan religions. For once, let us first listen to our Creator of what happens to every man, woman, and child when they die. These are His words, Genesis 3:19. And the sweat of thy face shalt thou eat bread, till thou return unto the ground, for out of it wast thou taken, for dust thou art, and unto dust shalt thou return. Did YeHoVaH say that they would go to purgatory, heaven, or hell? No, he was telling Adam and Eve right out, you're going to die. Hey, I made you from dust, and you're going to return to dust. Because you're mortal beings. I'm not sending you to purgatory. I'm not sending you to heaven or hell. You and your descendants are going to die. You came from dust, and you return to dust. YeHoVaH clearly spelled out that all of humanity returns to dust. There is no purgatory, nor heaven or hell as the final destination upon death. We have no eternal soul. If we have an eternal soul, then why should man be resurrected on Judgment Day to his mortal body and face the second death for all evil men and women? Why do we need this vessel, this empty vessel, if there's a soul, eternal soul in it? Why does it need to be resurrected in the first place? Because if you read the Revelation, the bodies are taken from the grave, from the sea, physical bodies, and they are returned back to life. You see how ludicrous this is? These pagan, childlike beliefs. Stop the lies of Satan, who said you cannot die. Satan told this to Eve in the Garden of Eden. He says you cannot die. And this lie has been perpetuated all the way down to Christianity, who says you go to purgatory or you go to heaven and hell. And they're even divided on this beliefs. Christianity is no different in this great lie of an eternal soul from any pagan religion out there. They're all the same, people, because Christianity is satanic. YeHoVaH gave his words to simple and illiterate people. You don't have to have a high IQ nor a PhD to understand the scripture. His words and statements are that they're direct. There's no mystery to them. The scripture from the Old Testament to the New is harmonious. They do not contradict each other. And if you think a contradiction exists, then it is a simple matter of mistranslation or a misunderstanding of what the person in question is saying, especially in the New Testament. Or it is Satan who is guiding his seed to deceive humanity. He wants you to believe that you have an eternal soul. Evil men and women has altered the New Testament, and we know this because they contradict YeHoVaH's Torah. The only thing Satan relies on is for people to ignore the word spoken by the Creator. For the most part, that's what he does. He accomplishes his role of deceiving you by just letting you not read the words that came out of the mouth of the Creator, YeHoVaH. Instead, you rather listen to the lies of these clerics, pastors, and all these false prophets who are going to burn the lake of fire for their idol worship. This is why the West doesn't know they are going to be nuked, and it is because of Christianity, which has pretended to be a religion of light, men and women in wolves' clothing. You see why the West is going to be nuked? It's because of Christianity. Christianity which twists the words of YeHoVaH. You will die when those nukes come, and those left alive will eat their children as well. And if you do not care to read the words of YeHoVaH yourself, then the blame is all on you for believing in your satanic cults. You rather listen to men and women rather than the very words that came out of the mouth of the Creator himself, YeHoVaH. You see, people, this is why the tree of life was offered in the Garden of Eden. If Adam and Eve and their descendants ate of the tree of life, then they wouldn't die. YeHoVaH did not make vessels of flesh for eternal souls. Flesh is the living soul. You see, that's why it's called the tree of life. By eating of it, you wouldn't die. And this is why they were kicked out of the Garden of Eden. So they cannot eat of the tree of life and become like YeHoVaH to live eternally by eating from the tree of life. Again, that's why it's called the tree of life. And that's why it was in the Garden of Eden. And of course, the other major tree in the Garden of Eden was the tree of knowledge of good and evil. And what happens if Adam and Eve eat of it? Genesis 2:17. But of the tree of knowledge of good and evil thou shalt not eat of it, for in the day that thou eatest thereof thou shalt surely die. You understand that Adam and Eve did not die the very day they ate from the tree of knowledge of good and evil. The day that in this verse is like 1,000 years to YeHoVaH's because of his time reckoning. Right? 1,000 years is like a day to him. So, which is why the people before the great flood lived around 1,000 years. Methuselah himself almost reached 1,000. YeHoVaH means what he says. You don't have access to the tree of life, you're going to die. And for the people back then who lived a long time, he says you're going to die in that day, that 1,000 years. He didn't say that they were going to heaven or hell or purgatory. He says they all are, good or bad, are going to die. Because death is the final destination. Wait a minute, what did the man of 666 King Solomon state about what happens to every person when they die? Ecclesiastes 12:7. Then shall the dust return to the earth as it was, and the spirit shall return unto God who gave it. Understand, the spirit is not the soul, but it is the force that allows man to be higher than the animals. King Solomon reiterated YeHoVaH's statement that man dies and returns to dust. But the force which we shall liken to electricity as a metaphor, like machinery needs electricity, it wouldn't work without it. And this force, without it, we wouldn't be able to be higher than the animals. We would just be like animals if we didn't have this force. And we know this is not the eternal soul because Solomon stated that the spirit of every man, woman, and child, good or bad, returns to the Creator. He made no distinction between good or bad. The spirit of every person, good and evil, returns back to the Creator because all it does is allow us to have understanding, to be higher than the animals. And a great example of this is Nebuchadnezzar, because his spirit was taken out and he acted like an animal for his obstinance. And we can read this in Daniel 4, verses 33 to 34. The same hour was the thing fulfilled upon Nebuchadnezzar, and was driven from men, and did eat grass as oxen, and his body was wet with the dew of heaven, till his hairs were grown like eagle's feathers, and his nails like bird's claws. And at the end of the days Nebuchadnezzar lifted up mine eyes unto heaven, and mine understanding returned unto me. And I blessed the Most High, and I praised and honored him that liveth forever, whose dominion is everlasting dominion, and his kingdom is from generation to generation. For 7 years Nebuchadnezzar lived as an animal, because he was without the spirit that allows humanity to have understanding. Without it would be no different than animals. It is not our eternal soul. It is just a means to have understanding. That's why on Judgment Day there is a second death. YeHoVaH stated that mankind was appointed to die once. However, on Judgment Day, Yeshua will judge all of mankind, and those found worthy of the second death. It didn't say second hell, second purgatory, second heaven, or what have you. It says second death. Will be thrown in the lake of fire to die, to be dead forever. There is no eternal punishment of pain and suffering, because the benevolence of YeHoVaH will just put these evil demons, yes, demons too, angels, fallen angels, men and women, to an eternal death. And understand, when Yeshua returns, the angels, the demons, Satan and the demons, are not put in the lake of fire. They're put in a different place. And after the 1,000 years, they come out of that place to do what they're allowed to do for a short time, to deceive humanity again. And after all that, then Satan and his demons are then thrown in the lake of fire. And their spirit bodies taken away, they becoming flesh, like you and me, to die an eternal death. Which is why the angel said to Yeshua, when he came upon them, he says, and the angels were afraid, and they said, "Have you come to destroy us?" And of course, if you do not understand what destroy is, go look it up. It means death. It means a cessation of life. And of course, any misunderstanding, if you have any questions about other verses in the New Testament, then guess what? Daniel 12:4. But thou, O Daniel, shut up the words and seal the book, even to the time of the end. Many shall run to and fro, and knowledge shall be increased. Internet is your friend. There are great resources to explain away the lies of Satan. You can look it up about this matter, and you could explore the two sides. The one side that believes in the eternal soul lie, and you can also explore the resources that said the eternal soul is nothing but that, a lie, a farce. Of course, we may do a video later on to go in depth on the eternal soul. But you can be safe, be reassured, just by repeating YeHoVaH's very own words to anybody who say otherwise. We are made from dust, and we return to dust. And of course, the final proof is that Christianity is nuked. The West will be nuked because of Christianity, who have perverted the words and teachings of YeHoVaH and his Son. There will be no rapture, but fire and ash, and those who remain alive will eat their children. And you could look up Michael Rood's Zechariah's Thermonuclear War. It should really be called Zechariah's Thermonuclear Attack, but it will ensue World War III, leading up to the abomination of desolation. So anyway, that's why there are only 2 major witnesses and 144,000 saints during the Great Tribulation, because Christianity has been annihilated from the face of the earth. The West is gone. No more pagan Greek Jesus and his followers of pagan breath false prophets telling you lies of going to heaven and hell, taking your money, lording over you, making their words higher above the words of YeHoVaH in the scripture. And that you could plainly look at and see the contradictions yourself. So we are stuck in the grave forever. After what happened at the Garden of Eden, the fall of Adam and Eve, mankind was to be stuck in the grave forever. We understand that humanity was doomed to the grave after the fall of Adam and Eve at the Garden of Eden. There was no hope from that endless death. However, YeHoVaH had a plan, since YeHoVaH knows everything. YeHoVaH knew that Adam and Eve would doom mankind to eternal death, thanks in large part to Satan, who lied to them that they couldn't die. A lie perpetuated by every pagan religion in the world to this day. This is as silly and ludicrous as Darwinism that says rocks are your ancestors. But at least these idiot atheists got it right about man not being eternal and dies like all animals on this planet. End of part 1. We will continue with the salvation series in the next video.